Good late afternoon, early evening to everybody. Welcome inside the park once again, along with Ryan Thies. I'm Barry Nelson, here to bring you all the Major League Baseball action of the past week. And Ryan, you're back from assignment.
I am back.
Love the fact that you're here.
Week off on just some scheduling conflicts.
Are you going to tell everybody what you did?
I just work for the Brewers.
I just work for the Brewers.
Yeah, just no grounds crew, but.
That's pretty cool, though.
Separate life. I like talking about it a lot.
Well, yeah,
more.
I mean that's a badge of honor. I get to be on the field for most home
games.
Nice.
We get to watch the entire game, so that's definitely a plus.
Do you have to watch from like a certain area?
Yeah, we have a break room. Though we usually just watch it on the TV.
Oh, that's fun. You get to watch it on TV. You don't actually get to sit in the stands or anything like that.
We can, but we choose not to.
Well, today's show, we are going to go through what was the week in Major League Baseball. We're going to be joined by Dara Bittler. She is out in Denver. She's going to give us some insight on some of the happenings going on. A lot of stuff going on in Major League Baseball. We're through the first month of the year, and some of the craziness has kind of subsided a little bit. We had a lot of crazy, and we talked with Scott Wisniewski last week as he was admirably filling in for you regarding some of the stuff happening. Just craziness. But now it's kind of settling back, and we'll talk to her about that. We'll talk about Rookie of the Year candidates. We'll also talk about some injuries happening, a lot of injuries happening to some significant people. But first of all, speaking of injuries, our first go-around when we go on our stadium tour here, some of our biggest headlines, let's talk a little bit about the Nationals. They activate Trey Turner, who's their shortstop. He had a little bit of a hamstring, thought he was going to be out for a little bit longer, but he's not. Then all of a sudden, what happens but Adam Eaton blows out his knee running to first base.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough loss, especially defensively. Real good defensive player is Adam Eaton. But, I mean, the Nationals, they're playing really good baseball right now.
Yeah.
The loss of one player isn't going to be detrimental to their entire season. So don't hit the panic button right now. They're in good shape. If this were ever to happen, they're in decent shape.
Especially when you're scoring 23 runs a pop. I mean, we'll
talk
was
against the Mets.
Right, we'll talk about Anthony Rendon and his record-breaking day. But, I mean, Adam Eaton is a guy they traded for. Here we'll see the clip of him trying to beat out. And he actually did beat out the throw, but he just kind of crumbles in pain right there. And I've seen that happen being a basketball coach where people just go down and they just land awkwardly, and it's just a joint, and it's you can see the reaction of the fans. Unfortunately for them, they traded for Adam Eaton, and Bryce Harper, when they traded for him, said, wow, this is a guy that we can really use, and unfortunately he's going to be gone for the year.
He got unlucky there. He's just trying to reach to the base. It was in between steps, and he tried reaching a little bit too far, just extended it, got it in a bad angle. But that's how Adam Eaton plays the game. He plays it 110% at all costs, even just trying to beat out this infield single. And just that's a very unfortunate thing to happen. But he was playing to the best of his abilities, and that's just something that's going to come when you just try your absolute max all the time.
One of those spark plug kind of guys.
Yeah,
he's not
definitely.
real tall, not real big, but he will give everything he has. So we wish him well. And we know the Nationals aren't going to do too bad without him, even though they're going to miss him quite a bit. On Saturday night, the Dodgers, back-to-back home runs in the ninth to tie the game, and then they win on a two-out single. You have Yasiel Puig, is it Cody or Corey? Cody Bellinger. And then Eric Turner go back-to-back to beat the Phillies, or to tie the Phillies and then beat the Phillies eventually. But, man, that's a way to come back.
Yeah, that is the definition of clutch, is to just have three solo shots. The saying kind of goes, solo home runs don't win ball games, but in this case, three of them in a row. That is going to win you a ball game, especially at home in front of that crowd. And you got some
in front of what crowd? There was no crowd. If we're going to take a look at the
LA crowd.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at the scene right here, and look at how many people are behind home plate. I suppose those are expensive seats. But you had quite a few people in here.
Those people sitting there don't care about the game.
That's true.
In LA, it's just a little.
And
bit
they're not in first place.
Who.
They're not in first place right now, so
Not
nobody
yet,
really
but
cares.
This helped sweep the Phillies.
Yeah.
And April on a 4-game winning streak. They got some momentum going into the month of May. We'll discuss that later.
But it's the Phillies.
It's still a
Phillies.
Major League Baseball team.
It is true. It's true. Tiffany says grounds crew is a badass job, so apparently you're a badass.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Trying my best over here.
We talked about injuries. Another significant injury, Noah Syndergaard. He was scheduled for an MRI on Friday because of soreness in his biceps and shoulders. Thought maybe a little bit of a dead arm, some discomfort. He said, "No, I don't want to. I don't want an MRI." And the general manager said, "Okay, well, we can't really force you." So he threw a bullpen session on Saturday. On Sunday, yesterday, he came out, thought he was fine, bottom of the second, throws a pitch to Bryce Harper. Second pitch of the at-bat, starts holding his side. Thought, man, tore something. Well, the MRI came back, revealed a partially torn lat, and no timetable for his return. How much are the Mets going to miss Noah Syndergaard?
Oh, big time. They're going to miss a lot of people on that roster. A lot on the DL right now. You got Cespedes, Wilmer Flores, and now Syndergaard. David Wright is on the 60-day as well. They have really been harmed by injuries this season, and you just cannot let that happen. If you are in Mets management, you can't let Noah Syndergaard say no to an MRI. Yeah, it's his own body. He knows how he feels, but just check it out. It's the beginning of the year. You don't want to have a torn muscle here in the beginning of the year to make it a long-term injury. If it's an MRI, you miss one start, see what it is, and then you go from there.
And we'll talk about this when we get into our fair or foul segment. I
don't like it.
I think it's a matter of the guys are just afraid. They're afraid of what the MRI is going to say. And rather than get told bad news, they'll just say, you know what, I'm fine, I'll work through it, I'll play through it, I'm going to be tough, and then what happens? Something else. And this is what happened with Syndergaard. Not only was his arm not feeling good, but now all of a sudden his lat is torn. I can guarantee you a torn lat, he'll be out, especially on the side where he throws. He'll be out at least, I'm guessing, 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
At least.
At very least. It's like having the check engine light on your car. You see, it feels fine, but the check engine light is there. There's a little bit of a warning symbol, but you're like, no, it feels fine. We're okay. Let's keep driving it. And then
now you get white smoke coming out of your engine.
And then your engine just blows. And it's a lot worse than if you just would have...
Yeah, instead of $300, now you got $1,300.
I know, you don't want to see, you never want to go in and take your car in when the check engine light is on because you never know how much that's going to cost. But it's going to be cheaper if you get it in the short term rather than try to keep it going.
Well, you can always YouTube something to figure out what's going on with the check engine light, but you can't
that
YouTube
could also
an
be
injury.
That could also be a lot worse.
That's true.
Yeah.
But
you don't want Noah Syndergaard performing his own surgeries on himself.
No, but I did fix my wife's transmission the other day, so that was pretty cool. And I also saved 15% on car insurance. Just kidding. Speaking of injuries, once again, Aaron Sanchez, fresh off the 10-day disabled list with a blister on his middle finger, pitches one inning before leaving the first inning with a split fingernail. Now, all you hockey guys out there, I know what you're saying. Oh, my God, a split fingernail. But when you're throwing a curveball and when you're throwing fastballs, a split fingernail can be very, very painful. And it can actually, disrupt the spin of the ball.
When you use your fingers like pitchers do, you can't have anything on there unless it's a foreign substance, as we talked about before. But if you have anything that just bothers you in the slightest, that's going to throw your focus off, that's going to allow you to miss some pitches. You'll start walking guys, you'll start leading them over the plate and just get pounded. So it's just something that it's really tough to do, and you can't really judge it unless you've been in that exact situation. Yeah, it sounds stupid that you can't pitch because of a blister. He's on the DL, and then he gets a split little fingernail, and then he has to leave the game. But if you talk to him, it just is horrible for him. He knows that he can't pitch with his fingernail like that, and it's going to be very detrimental to him if he tries to pitch. And so that's just, it sounds like it's a bad injury, but it's something legit.
When I was little, we would always make fun of like Jim McMahon in the NFL. He's always out because of a hangnail or something like that. But seriously, nail and finger injuries to a pitcher that's how they make their living. You know, whether you're throwing a knuckleball, whether you're throwing a curveball, that's how they make their living is with their hand. That's how they throw. Now, when it comes to other sports, you don't necessarily need your hands as much. When it comes to football, if you're an offensive lineman, you can tape up a broken finger, a separated finger or thumb or whatever it is. If you're in hockey, you get a tooth knocked out, you don't need teeth. You know, you see all these guys, they're tough, and they're very tough, and they come back. Basketball players, if something's wrong with their legs, you know, even if it's a toe injury, or football, if it's a toe injury, you see that. People are out, okay? This is a finger injury, and a lot of people are saying, oh, what a wuss. But no, realistically, it's not. It's not that. It's a big deal when it comes to baseball.
And if you say when you cut your fingernails just a little bit too short and it hurts the next couple of days, if you say you don't complain when that happens, you're a liar.
Well, not only
everyone, that just not even pitching, but just everyday life. If you cut your fingernail too short, it hurts.
Well, if you cut your fingernail too short and then put pressure on a ball, that's going to hurt.
And now imagine it being split.
Right.
Not good stuff.
Crazy. Anyway, enough of the injury talk. Let's get to some game talk.
Bad news first.
Yeah. Well, if you're a Milwaukee Brewer fan, bad news first. On Saturday night, Matt Kemp homered 3 times in an 11-3 victory over the Brewers. It's the first time since Mark Teixeira in 2008 for an Atlanta Brave that hit 3 home runs, and not to be outdone, Carlos Gomez hit for the cycle, capping it off with a home run. Only the second time that's happened in the last 15 years, but. Matt Kemp, a lot of offense. The Braves, a lot of offense, and we're going to talk about how Freddie Freeman loves it at Miller Park. But just a night for him and Carlos Gomez, all in the same night. And Carlos Gomez didn't really get a whole lot of pub for it either.
No, he definitely was under the radar for his cycle, especially capping it off with a home run. I think that's one of the best things in baseball is completing a cycle on a home run. And I think the natural cycle, hitting a single, double, triple home run in that order is a very great thing to see, very rare. So if you ever see one of those, keep that ticket stub. It is going to be memorable. But going back to Matt Kemp, it's good to see him come back a little bit. He had those great years with the Dodgers in the early 2010s and then kind of tapered off. Now with the Braves, trying to find his swing a little bit more. And if you're going to want to find his swing, I think the best team to do it against is the Brewers pitching staff. I think
they've given up quite a few.
Yeah, so I think you might want to thank Brewers pitching there.
Well, Matt Kemp, he had that great year. Of course, he's still talking about the 2011 year when Ryan Braun won the MVP, still under PED use. Still thinks he should have won that year, and a lot of people agree with him, but moved to a new venue because the Dodgers didn't need him anymore. He was expendable, and he's really starting to find a home with Atlanta, and he's kind of breaking out of that slump. He was not heard from for, I'd say, a better part of a year, and now all of a sudden he's starting to come back and make a name for himself. So I'm really happy that he's doing that. Not only that, but Carlos Gomez, one of the fan favorites here in Milwaukee when he was here. Just a lot of energy, a little brash. But you like that. He had a little cockiness to him, a little swagger. But You know what? Whenever he hit a home run, you knew it because he was throwing the bat, trotting, he was clapping his hands, he was doing whatever he could, but he ran around the bases.
Him and Nyjer Morgan were very electric combo.
That 2011 team with Nyjer Morgan when they hit the Morgan hit the to beat who?
To beat the Diamondbacks.
Yes, to beat your Diamondbacks.
Game 5 of the NLDS.
If you haven't YouTubed that, watch it. It's awesome. Nyjer Morgan right up the middle and Carlos Gomez racing around second and third.
I have not willingly watched that clip since it's happened. Yep. It just popped up on my screen a couple of times and brought back bad memories. But, we're getting past it.
Yeah,
we're getting past it.
Ironically, though, this wasn't Carlos Gomez's first cycle. I believe it. He had his first cycle back in May 7th of 2008 when he was a member of the Twins against the Chicago White Sox. That was early on in his career. I believe that was either his first or second year in the league. But just a great job by him. Matt Kemp, ironically, also hit for the cycle a couple of years ago, back on August 14th of 2015, when he was playing for the Padres. So just a good offense all around on Saturday. Then all of a sudden you get to Sunday, And we talked about it. We mentioned it a little
offense.
bit. More offense,
Yeah.
especially if you're watching Washington and New York. Washington explodes for 23 runs, a 23-5 win against the Mets. The Nats hit 7 home runs, including 3 from Anthony Rendon, who went 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. Finished with 16 total bases, according to BaseballReference.com. No one has hit those benchmarks in the same game ever. So history in the making for the Washington Nationals. Rendon is the second player in Major League history with 6 hits, 3 home runs, and 10 RBIs in the game. The other was Walker Cooper, who did it for the, anybody know? Cincinnati Reds, 1949, back when I was just a kid. I'm just kidding. I'm not that old. But just a day for these Nationals, not just for Rendon, but I mean for the Nationals in general.
Who would have thought it was Anthony Rendon to set a record?
You would
like
have thought
that,
Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, somebody.
Yeah, Bryce Harper is the obvious choice there for him to do that, but it was Anthony Rendon. And my favorite part about this was his post-game interview on the field. He didn't say a single thing about, that was cool that I went 6 for 6 and had 3 home runs. He said, our pitchers did a great job to keep us in the game. In a 23-5 game, he complimented
They had to do
the
a whole
pitchers.
lot to keep those guys in the game.
I mean, it was kind of a decent thing for Rendon to do, to kind of spread the love across the entire team. He definitely not an eye guy. So it was kind of funny to see that a guy sets a record like that, goes 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, and thanks the pitching staff.
That's class.
Yeah, good for
That's
him.
class. Patrick says, mercy rule, LOL. Yeah, there probably should have been. When it got to about 15 runs, there probably should have been a mercy rule. But
They'll never do mercy rule in the MLB.
No, and they shouldn't either. I mean, we get run rules in softball, but that's never any fun because you don't get to finish out a game, especially if you're up and you're 4 for 5. You got 2 singles, a double, and a home run. You want to get that triple. You want to try for it, but sometimes you just can't. He also says that Braun is still out for the day. We're going to talk about Ryan Braun when we get Dara Bittler on the line here. We're going to be talking to her in just a minute. But one other thing we wanted to mention. Eric Thames for my beloved Brewers. My goodness, he had a month. He had 11 home runs this month and finished top of the league. Should be named April Player of the Month. Hopefully, unless it's Ryan Zimmerman, you never know. But there's a story behind Eric Thames. Now, he came over from North Korea. He came back from North Korea.
South
Korea. I'm sorry. He's
not
friends with Kim
North
Jong-un.
Korea.
Yeah. No, he came from South Korea,
Yes.
which is going to get bombed by Kim Jong-un soon, I'm sure. But
That's another show.
That's another show, yeah. We'll talk about that later. But he has pretty much a career in South Korea. Then he comes back and he gets signed by the Brewers, and he gets off to this monstrous start. Now, he hit a few home runs against the Cubs. Chris Bosio from the Cubs, the pitching coach, says, oh, well, he must be on something. Then all of a sudden he hits, 7 home runs against 8 home runs against Cincinnati.
the Reds.
And there's rumors and talks around here. Well, guess what? Major League Baseball has taken notice. How many times has he gotten drug tested so far?
4. 1 was in spring training and 3 in the month of April.
I love his quote, though. He's like, they can test me all they want. I got enough blood in urine. And I'm just like, he doesn't have enough if they're going to keep testing him like this. I mean, 3 times, and it was twice within the last week.
Yes. And the drug regulations in the Korean League, the KOB, were a lot stricter than MLB. They go by the International Olympic Committee standard drug testing, which is stricter than the MLB drug policy. So, I mean, he's clean. I was at least clean when he was in the KOB, and I'm pretty sure he's still going to be clean going through here. But you get a guy, great story, coming back from Korea, hits all these home runs, sets the Brewers franchise record for home runs in the month of April, adds a little spark to the MLB. And you know how the MLB responds? Let's see if we can find a way to suspend this guy.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get him out of the league.
He's great for the league. And if you take a look at pictures from him
sense.
a few years ago when he was first in the league, he actually looks bigger back then than he does now. So give him credit. He's taking this with taking everything they do with a grain of salt. He's he's coming up with ways to kind of laugh this off, and he's doing the classy.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, and he's doing the classy thing to where he's abiding by their regulations. He's taking their drug tests and just kind of making light of it. But we'll talk about that later on. But we want to bring in our MLB correspondent, Dara Bittler. She is joining us live from Denver, Colorado. Dara, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Inside the Park. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing absolutely fabulous, talking about Major League Baseball and a few things that happened over the weekend. Man, that Nats game against the Mets was crazy yesterday, wasn't it?
Oh, my gosh, it was. So many crazy games this weekend, though, for sure.
Absolutely, and it's been a crazy month, but things are kind of back to normal. The Cubs and the Indians are finally back to leading their respective divisions. The Nationals are starting to pad that lead a little bit, as we saw. But what the heck is going on over in the NL West? We know you're in Rocky country. What's going on with the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers? There's kind of a shift going on here, and the Giants are really bad. What's happening in the NL West?
Yeah, it is crazy to think about, especially when you consider the Rockies. I mean, they were really bad last season, and the Dodgers. Where in the heck are the Dodgers? Like, this is something that catches me off guard. But the Rockies, I've been watching a lot of Rockies baseball since I got to Colorado. I actually got out here in August, so seeing what the Rockies have done in the offseason really has made a big difference. I mean, you've got Greg Holland, who's now at 11 saves. 11 for 11, so he has made a big impact for them. I think that was their biggest problem last year was they couldn't close out a game. I mean, they can flat out hit the ball. And then you talk about their rookies. You got Sintezella, which I can't say his name.
That's all right, neither can we.
But those guys, I mean, they're flat out doing work as rookies, so it's really impressive to see what they're doing. And then the Diamondbacks are right there with them. I mean, that is a tight race. So they just beat them yesterday. So,
do you think that it's the Dodgers division to win, or are the Rockies pretty legit? And are the Diamondbacks? Is this going to be a 3-team race, or are the Dodgers eventually over time, as we get into the dog days, just going to take over?
Oh, I don't buy that. I would say that the Rockies and the Diamondbacks, it's going to be a 2-team race. I think the Dodgers are honestly going to kind of just fall off the rails this season. Maybe kind of what the Royals are doing in the AL. So, but don't quote me on that.
Well, Patrick says that they finally got rid of Walt Weiss, too. How big has the managerial change been?
Huge. I think that's made a big difference. So, I mean, anytime you change management, it does affect morale and everything else going on in the clubhouse. So I think that has a big impact on it.
All right, let's transition to the NL East now. The Nationals, they are playing some really good baseball right now. They're the best team in the major leagues right now, in my opinion, at least. They put up 23 yesterday on the Mets. But the Cubs they're staying decent baseball. They're obviously the defending world champions. Do you think it's going to be between the Nationals and Cubs for the crown of the NL?
I don't think you can count out the Cardinals either. I think they're kind of hanging right there in there. So the Nationals are rolling. I think later in the season, it wouldn't be surprising to see them up 20 games on the division. I mean, they're really, really good. They're rolling. They've got Ryan Zimmerman, and he's having a comeback season for the ages. So he's on fire, hitting the hottest bat in baseball right now. So,
yeah, do you think Ryan Zimmerman can sustain that? He's getting a little bit older here. I know we saw that back in like 2006, 2007, but it's 2017. Can a guy like Zimmerman actually keep a hot bat like he is now?
I mean, it's May. We're at May 1, so it's kind of hard to see what could really happen right now. May, I kind of get my hopes up in May, or kind of just get into the depths of despair because, I mean, I'm a Royals fan, so right now my team's on a 9-game losing streak with no side of improvement. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how long Zimmerman can actually sustain his hot bat. I mean, it could go on for a while. That's for sure.
Speaking of the American League, who do you give the most credit to for the Orioles' success so far? I mean, they've been handling their competition pretty well, and they're leading the AL East. Who do you give credit for, and can they keep up the pace, and do they have a legitimate shot at this division, or is it still going to be New York and Boston?
Well, I really, really, really like Dylan Bundy. I think what he's come in and done for them has been huge. And then, obviously, I'm always a fan of Buck Showalter. Great guy.
He's old school.
He's so old school. I can never forget the 2014 World Series and Wild Card Divisional with the Royals and the Orioles. And there was so much bad blood. But guys like Buck Showalter and Ned Yost are, one of a kind. So it's fun to watch.
Well, speaking of bad blood, the Orioles actually have their series coming up tonight, starting again a second series against the Red Sox. It's the first series since Matt Barnes hit Manny Machado, and there was a lot of bad blood going on between those two. What could possibly happen in this series? Is there going to be some fists thrown? I know ESPN has thrown out an article saying, will there be fists thrown this weekend or this week? How bad is that blood between the Red Sox and the Orioles, and how much can that carry over since the Machado incident?
I definitely see the benches are going to clear. It could happen.
Okay.
Makes for fun baseball, but definitely bad blood. Is retaliation what should happen? Probably not, but will it? Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially with those teams.
See, I don't see it happen. I see it's kind of calmed down after the exchange between Dustin Pedroia and Manny Machado when Machado was on deck. I think that kind of calmed it a little bit. They're trying to get on the same page, and I think at least Pedroia has talked to his team and say, hey, this isn't what I want. I just want to play baseball. Do you think that has going to be any factor in this series and try to just tone it down and keep this series about baseball and not about hitting people and throwing punches and clearing benches?
It'll be interesting to see. I definitely think that it could happen, but at the same time, if they decide to tone it down and just play baseball, that's what'll happen. I don't know. I've seen it happen a lot in baseball where like you have some bad blood. You go out there, you retaliate one time, bench is clear, and then it's a done deal. But I've also seen on the other hand where it's just they kind of let it go, move on, act like adults, play baseball. But with these two teams and with that, with Machado, I don't know. I think he's kind of a hothead, so.
Well, we've seen that. We've seen that here in Milwaukee, between Milwaukee and St. Louis. Talking with Dara Bittler, our MLB correspondent from Denver. If you have a comment or you want a question, you have a question for Dara, please by all means hit us up on Facebook on our Facebook Live comments. Dara, when we take a look at AL Rookie of the Year, it's a two-man race right now. It's between, and it's only we always preface this by saying it's the first month, but after the first month, it's Aaron Judge, Andrew Benintendi. Who do you have, and who do you think will come out on top? It's once again Red Sox, Yankees, but it's going to be fun to watch these two guys grow and continue their pace as we go. But who do you think is going to be standing at the end?
I think Aaron Judge all the way. I've kind of thought that from the beginning, but definitely Aaron Judge. I think he's going to just continue to roll. So definitely have him.
What makes him the standout? Benintendi's leading all rookies in average. I know Aaron Judge has a little bit more power, but what's going to make him really be head and shoulders above anybody else?
I think it's his power, definitely. I think he's already got like 10 home runs, leads all AL hitters. So if he can continue to swing the bat with that kind of power, there's no stopping him. That's for sure. Now, I don't know. I guess he could be a little less consistent eventually, but power stays around. That's something you're always going to have, in my opinion.
What about the National League? It's a little more cluttered in the National League. You have a couple of people that could be vying for it. Do you have anybody that really stands out as a rookie in your mind in the National League?
2 Rockies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Look at those guys. You cannot count Kyle Freeland and Senzatella out. Those guys are...
And you got his name right, too. That's awesome. Nice job.
Senzatella. No, definitely. But after 5 or 6 starts, they're both at less than 2.80 ERA. That's incredible for rookies. I mean, normally the pressure gets to them. They kind of lose their command, but both have really sustained command and help their teams get wins. So that's big for the Rockies. And then I think Kyle Freeland, wow, I can't talk. Kyle Freeland right now has the highest ground ball percentage in all of baseball. He's at 16 strikeouts early, so a low amount of walks. So I think those are your two front runners. And it's interesting. They're both from the Rockies, but it kind of makes sense for what the Rockies have done so far.
Yeah, and I think those two guys, especially Freeland, they are the main pieces of why the Rockies are so successful right now. Do you think those two guys can sustain for the rest of the season? I know you see sometimes rookies, because they're kind of caught off guard, they don't have the scouting reports on these guys. They have a good little beginning portion, but then taper off. But some of these guys are looking
They hit
good.
the wall.
Yeah. Do you think those two guys could keep it for the rest of the year?
I think they definitely can. They have been under tremendous pressure so far. I mean, Kyle Freeland's a local guy. I can't imagine how that would be to go out your on Coors Field. You grew up in this area and you get a pitch in front of your home crowd. I think that would be a huge motivator for you, especially pushing forward. You've got your home community behind you, and you're just having fun. So I think that plays a big part of it, and it's really fun to watch these guys. I mean, I've always thought the Rockies had a great bats. They've hit the crap out of the ball, but when it comes down to pitching, that's something they could never sustain at all. And especially when it came to their bullpen. And now they've got all the pieces. I mean, I made an early season prediction that the Rockies were going to make the playoffs. So we'll see.
Well,
I definitely think they could sustain, though.
Well, I hope so, for your sake. I mean, being out in Colorado, that's fun, especially since you have the Broncos to cheer about in the fall. So. But Patrick on Facebook says, Dara, being a Royals fan, you should know that bad blood doesn't go away quickly. For instance, Royals versus A's.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking as soon as we talked about that. I mean, definitely understand it being a Royals fan, but I think a lot of that had to do with Yordano Ventura, and he's not around anymore, sadly. So
right.
That brought a lot of bad blood. He was really a big hothead, but man, that's how the Royals got their magic, I think. Kind of being the bad boys of baseball.
And they took after their manager, I think, a little bit. Paul says, how will Ian Desmond impact an already hot Rockies team now that he's healthy?
That's huge. I mean, oh my gosh, it's crazy, all the pieces that they have. I mean, they have so many weapons, and I think that's huge for sustainability. With Chad Bettis going on DL, fighting cancer, and then the rest of the pieces have just filled right in. I mean, you already have guys like Charlie Blackmon, Carlos Gonzalez, Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado. I mean, those bats are so hot, and then you've got all the pitching. It's awesome. I've never been a Rockies fan. I'm sorry for Rockies fans out there. I've never been a Rockies fan.
Not too many people have.
No, because they've never been a good team. But I mean, it's hard to deny good baseball, and I'm a baseball fan first, so it's really fun.
I don't know. I was a fan of Larry Walker and those Colorado Rockies. Yeah. They were fun, and it's always fun to watch fly balls fly out further because of the thin air.
And the whole Rocktober thing's kind of cool too. So they got that going for a good little pun. You heard Rocktober before?
I've never heard of Rocktober.
Anytime they make the playoffs, they just call it Rocktober.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, still sticking in the National League. This weekend, Freddie Freeman was playing with the Braves at Miller Park. And on Friday, he actually had a go-ahead home run to win that game. They came back.
Their second comeback from 4 runs down.
He did really well hitting the ball. But he said after Saturday night's game that Miller Park was a poorly lit field, like a Little League field. What do you make of those comments?
I don't think you should say that. I think that's the unwritten rule in baseball. As a player, you shouldn't say that. It is what it is. every field, every stadium is different, and it is what it is. There's
you
not
make
any
adjustments, right?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
He's not the only person to play in Miller Park this year or ever, and he's the first one to really comment on the lighting. And how bad of lighting can a major league park have?
Exactly. I think it's just him kind of throwing a fit. So.
Well, and the thing with this with Freddie Freeman is he called it a little league park, but then one of my friends said that, you know what, if he was to continue playing at Miller Park on this pace, he'd be on pace for 51 home runs this year. And that's crazy, but it is. I believe it's crossing a line too. I don't think you badmouth other people's parks. I mean, he doesn't come in and
Not
say
publicly.
Hey, right. He doesn't come in and say. You don't have like a Ryan Braun or somebody else saying, "Oh man, SunTrust Field is just crap." The dirt there is just horrible. The grounds crew sucks. You don't have that.
I want someone to say SunTrust Park lighting is too bright.
Yes,
I want someone to come out and say that.
That would be awesome.
Darryl, we want to thank you very much for joining us, giving us all the insight from the primarily from the West Coast, but we did delve into the East Coast a little bit. We enjoyed having you. We look forward to having you once again on Inside the Park.
Yeah, thanks guys so much. It was fun.
All right, Dara Bittler there from Denver, Colorado, giving us some insight here on Major League Baseball, and we wish her well, and we look forward to talking to her again. She brought us some good insight.
Oh, yeah,
it's always good to talk to people that are in other regions of the country, what their take is on everything. We had last week we had Kevin Holden from here in Milwaukee. He's a sports director, but he also travels around and does a lot of baseball. He did a lot of spring training, and we're still hoping to get a true West Coast guy next week as we talk AL West next week. But now is the time as we wind down the show for Fair or Foul. This is our kind of buy or sell segment here. As you know, if you've tuned into the past 2 weeks, we each give each other three statements or quotes, and we determine whether or not the statement that we're making is true or not, and we say fair or foul. So the first one that I have for Ryan, and if you have a fair or foul topic or something that you want to determine is fair or foul for us, by all means, comment on Facebook. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to answer some of your questions. But the first one for you, Ryan, that I have, Theo Epstein is the greatest general manager in the history of baseball. Fair or foul?
Fair, easy. He broke two big curses. Got the Red Sox and the Cubs. You can't argue with the facts. There's such a long drought building the teams, building the Cubs from where they were at the time that Theo Epstein took over to becoming not only World Series champion, but they've got such a fun atmosphere around them. A great manager. How they got him to go from Tampa Bay to the Cubs. To move, very stable job in Tampa Bay. Everyone loved him down there. He loved it down there, Joe Madden. And now he's with the Cubs, having a great time. That's kind of fueled everyone around it. And that was all Theo Epstein. And I think he's done as good of a job as you can do. And getting good draft picks from Chris Bryant. He wasn't part of the draft of Anthony Rizzo, but still keeping him around. Some good trades, getting John Lester, getting the guys to win Chicago a World Series, and that's all they wanted. Hopefully they can be content for a while. Don't need to win that many more World Series, but yeah, I do think he's the greatest general manager in baseball history.
By the way, Patrick Mott said SunTrust Park's lighting is too bright there. I said it.
We got one.
We got one person that said it. All right.
All right, for you, I got Ray Ramirez, who is the trainer for the New York Mets. Now, granted, how many injuries they have this season and in seasons past is the worst trainer in sports.
I'm going to say that's foul. Okay. I'm going to say the University of Maryland's training staff is probably a little bit worse. But, we talked about this a little bit with Syndergaard, Cespedes, and stuff like that. They were scheduled for MRIs. They decided, you know what, I'm good not taking the MRI, and then they go out and they hurt something more or they hurt something different. It's not the trainer's job. It's the trainer's job to advise and to say, hey, this is what's best. We're going to get you ready. How do you want to proceed? Now, if he suggests something or recommends something, he's not saying you have to do it. These guys are grown men. They're not being forced. Now, Sandy Alderson, who is the general manager, says we can't make these guys take an MRI. Well, technically you can. They're under contract. You're paying their paychecks. You can say, hey, you know what? If you don't take this MRI, we're going to withhold funds from your bank account. But realistically, these guys say, we know our own bodies, but do you really? Do you really know what a dead arm feels like? Have you ever experienced it before? Do you know how severe or how much your hamstring is pulled just by the feel of it? Okay, I didn't have anything wrong with the hamstring, and then all of a sudden mine popped. Okay, you can't guard for that, and I had an MRI, and it showed that it was torn. I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought, I just pulled a muscle. I think these guys have to have some sort of safeguard. I think these teams have to have some sort of safeguard. But no, I don't think Ray Ramirez is one of the worst trainers in baseball. He does his job, and he tries to do it to the best of his abilities. But if the guys aren't taking his advice or his recommendations, then that's on them. So
at some point, you're going to enforce his role, though.
Right, you have to.
Because he was the one who went to school for so long to study these types of injuries.
And that's what I'd say to him.
That's
what I'd say to him. I'd say, hey, who's got the education here? You guys didn't even go to college. You guys came here from high school. I went to 8 years of college, so I know. And they're just going to say, well, you weren't smart enough to play baseball. Anyway. Secondly, for you, Aaron Judge. We talked about this with Dara a little bit. Aaron Judge wins Rookie of the Year over Andrew Benintendi for the AL.
Fair. That's all I can say right now. Seeing the weekend, not just the weekend he had, but the whole month of April that he had. You can't argue with the long ball. He's
Chicks dig home runs.
Yeah, exactly. He's a big guy. He keeps hitting the ball. I think he's going to have a little more trouble on the road. Because it's obviously not the cracker box that Yankee Stadium is, but half his games are going to be played there, and he feels comfortable there. He's finally getting his shot at the major league level. I think Aaron Judge is the AL Rookie of the Year.
I love the fact that he wears number 99.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Taijuan Walker also wears number 99 for D-backs.
Right.
I think that might be
always
the
got to
only...
get a D-backs thing in there. Come on, man.
You brought up the number 99. If you didn't bring that up,
well, if you should have, why didn't you bring up Wild Thing Rick Vaughn from Major League?
Not active.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
I was looking for active number 99.
Gotcha. I think Andrew Benintendi actually is gonna overtake Judge. I think he's just a better all-around ball player. I think average-wise and getting doubles and singles, he's just gonna.
That's a fair point too, because the baseball writers vote on that.
And they're a little bit more
award,
traditional.
and they're very, very traditional. They write for newspapers.
Right, absolutely.
So, that's as traditional as you can get.
That's true, yeah.
Writing for newspapers. All right, second one for you. Mariners fans should be concerned about Felix Hernandez having a dead arm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fair. Anytime your ace goes out with a dead arm, oh my God. And what Felix Hernandez has been to that Seattle Mariners organization is just... You can't beat it. He has just been the face of that franchise for the past, 5 years at least, 7 years, and more than that. I mean, he's the guy that everybody looks to. He's a Cy Young Award winner. He's pitched no hitters. He's just been that guy. And when he goes out with the dead arm, you hope to God that it's not something where he's got to require Tommy John surgery. If that is, he's going to be out for at least a year, and given his age, I believe he's 34. That's going to be a tough road back. And so you definitely have concern. We wish him nothing but the best. I hope he comes back because he's good for the game. And with him having a dead arm, it happens to just about anybody. It can happen to anybody. So I would definitely be concerned. The last one for you, Ryan Zimmerman. And I was going to change this up, but I kept this. Ryan Zimmerman leads the NL in home runs this year. True or fair or foul?
I'm going to say foul on this one.
Okay.
He's going to be in the top 7. I'm going to say top 7.
Okay.
But he's older. He's not what he used to be. In the month of April,
I'm older too. I won Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah.
That was softball, though,
exactly.
Granted.
But I just don't think he can sustain the month of April that he had right now.
Okay.
I don't think the Nationals as a whole can do what they did in April because it was such a big thing that you just can't. It's just impossible to do that for an entire season.
Let me guess. You're thinking it's going to be a teammate of his that's going to lead the league, don't you?
Top 3, yeah, for Bryce Harper.
Who do you think's going to lead the league?
Yeah, Bryce Harper.
Okay.
Bryce Harper. He'll get around to it.
When in doubt, just go with it.
Mm-hmm.
I
was a big Bryce Harper fan in high school.
Well, and I was going to change that question. Do you think Eric Thames is going to be drug tested more times than he has home runs? But I wasn't going to go there. So
already over.
Yeah, we already did that.
All right, last one for you. Dodgers will be in first place at the end of May. They finished April pretty hot, they were expected to lead this division.
It's so hard to predict, especially since Colorado is playing so well and Arizona is playing very, very good baseball. But taking a look at some of the, taking a look at the schedule real quick, you take a look at Colorado's schedule. Okay, they have a nice 12-game homestand where they play Arizona, they play the Cubs, and they play the Dodgers. That's a tough schedule. They also play, but they also go on the road and play the Twins, the Reds, and the Phillies. So they got a chance to actually have a pretty good month. You take a look at Arizona, and they also have a lengthy road trip at the end of their month, but they have a nice homestand, and that's against Pittsburgh, New York, San Diego, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh again. They got a chance to have a really good month of April as well. And then you take a look at the Dodgers finally, and the Dodgers have a 12-game homestand. They have a 9-game road trip, but it's to San Francisco. It's to Miami. But they do finish out with the Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Cardinals once again at the end of the month of May. So I'm going to say foul. I'm going to say that
the easy answer.
I'm going to say Colorado is probably going to still be leading.
Okay.
With Arizona not too far behind, and I think the Dodgers are going to be right there. I think it's going to be a 3-team race. I think it's going to be probably about a game and a half, 2.5 game lead at the end of the month for the Colorado Rockies. But I think, like I said, Dara didn't agree. But once you get into the dog days, I think that's when the Dodgers are really going to kind of lull people to sleep, and that's when they're going to overtake everybody.
I think this is when we're going to really start seeing things iron out. I honestly don't think the D-backs can hold on through this month of May. I think this is when they start to fall.
And Dara says she still thinks Zimmerman can sustain it. She doesn't see the Dodgers being anything but a 500 club, and you can't count the Cardinals out of it. That's true. I can't count the Cardinals out of it, but I will because I don't like the Cardinals. Yeah. So right now, I'm just not going to count the Cardinals in it right now.
Journalism
at its finest, exactly. But we're going to have to wrap it up for this week. We had a fun time inside the park, and we always enjoy talking Major League Baseball. We wish it was more than once a week, and maybe it will be once the Dog Days of Summer hit. We never know. We'll have to talk to some programming about that, but we enjoyed having Dara Bittler on. We will look forward to having everybody else on coming up these next few Mondays. We will be back here once again next Monday from 5 to 6 Central Standard Time, so be sure to set your I don't want to say you can't set your DVR, but set your alarm on your phone or set something on your computer. A reminder.
Hey, Siri.
Yeah. When does Inside the Park come on Bruce Sports? I wonder if she'll say anything. She'll probably say, "Let me check that for you." But it was fun today. It's always fun talking Major League Baseball with Ryan Thies. Ryan, once again, always a pleasure.
Good to be here.
For our producer and our engineers, David Bobke and Baxter Copeland, we thank you very much. For Ryan Thies, I'm Barry Nelson saying so long. Be sure to tune in to Brew Sports tomorrow for halftime and Morning Brew to kick off your day. You also have Pick 6 coming up tomorrow, as well as Double Dribble coming up tomorrow night. So a whole list of good programming here on Brew Sports. Once again, for our crew here, I'm Barry Nelson saying so long. We'll see you next Monday inside the park.